Crowd cheers. I am still trying to figure out what a semi-quarterfinal match is. We're going to get into it. It is the round of 8. Game number 2 with SK Telecom up 1-0. Starting out with some potential shenanigans down here in the bottom lane as Faker is waiting in the wings. 4 men strong. One of the few games we get without a big fan across the map.
Yep, and definitely some room for creative openings level 1 here. Lots of slows and even a snare if Max does... Nope, he does not elect for that opening on the Zyra skills. And so Faker going to be spotted out here. Going to also spot out Ian, but they don't know if Ian has actually placed a ward down anywhere, so they will have to keep that in mind. And other than that, looks like we're going to have a standard start up in top.
So keeping an eye on at least the jungler so far, Bengi is on his Elise and Beyond on a now manaless jungler. So going to be interesting to see how these routes shape up. So what should we really expect to see from both of these junglers starting on their respective sides?
Well, the problem is if you look at MVP's team composition, they don't really have a way to kill anyone except in bottom lane because Malzahar is not going to deal any damage early on. Poppy not going to really have a way to kill Trundle early on unless Trundle really overextends. So Beyond basically just going to be looking to play control and support for his team. And if he can find a kill in bottom lane, then he's certainly going to want to do that. But Ian might be handed the blue buff, and that actually is going to help him a lot in punishing Faker's rise here in this matchup.
All right, so that will be one example. Faker, though, will place a ward just to see exactly what's going on and get any additional information that he can. Level 2 hit there first for Faker as he shoves the wave into Ian. So we'll see if that's not going to be what makes the difference there, although I think Faker in his round of 12 match actually did wind up getting a solo kill between his level 2 and 3 power spikes, so certainly a lane to keep an eye on.
A little bit of trading happening. Oh, yeah, missed by Faker right there.
Subtle little dodge will avoid getting locked down by that deadly flourish. And you were actually mentioning, no kill potential here unless Prophet really messes up. But Ed in his FOMOS interview a couple days ago actually mentioned that that's a lane that can be a skill matchup. But here comes Rek'Sai up to top.
Yeah, this actually was a pretty big mess up by Prophet. He's going down.
Oh my goodness, too far out and Beyond. Polzayankos grabs that first blood for his team, or at least helps them take it out. Nice enough, though, to hand it over to Ed, thus nullifying my analogy. But great positioning up there and committing the cardinal sin you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and now because of that gank up in top lane, as you can see here, Bengi knows that, hey, I can actually come in and steal the blue, and there's no way to really kill Faker, as Beyond does not have his flash available, and he's running over to blue. He's going to get there not in time, but they probably will now know that, yes, Bengi is indeed there.
Yep, the status Praise Seeker running through the blue and not picking anything up. So returning to this top lane, beautiful gank by Beyond.
Yeah, so Beyond basically came up here. Prophet extending too far forward. We didn't get to see it in the replay, but he chased Ed back to the very top of the edge of the map, touching the trees at the very top, and because of that, that was too far forward. And speaking of which, overextension, Ian a little too overextended, having to trade both summoners for Bengi's flash.
Good trade out there. And of course, Faker's sort of reaping the benefits of his jungler heading towards the mid lane, taking out his opposing mid laner's summoner spells, and now is content to farm there at the turret. So with no summoner spells there for Ian and double up for Faker, definitely a lane to keep an eye on as now Beyond making his way down to the bottom half of the map. No level 6s down here quite yet, but still looking for any gank opportunities.
And right now,
okay.
He elects out, apparently.
That is the unsuccessful gank towards the bottom. Now, we talked about the summoner spells being down in the mid lane, and without anything going on the bottom half of the map, what do you think is the real purpose of Bengi spending so much time helping Faker out here in the mid lane?
Right now, Ian is a little bit pressured underneath this turret, as doesn't have a very good, reliable way of farming this wave out, and now Bengi going to get some vision around mid, and basically it's all about pressuring Malzahar early on, and Faker with a little late of a recall. Generally, Rises do want to recall sooner to get that Tear of the Goddess, but he's still going to be able to pick up Tear and Boots nonetheless, and just some trading happening up there in top lane, and not really much is happening, so expect nothing to really happen also until Ian hits level 6, or when Ed hits level 6, maybe we're going to see some fireworks fly from Beyond.
We've already seen a lot of that. Now Maha forced to flash away from the Deadly Flourish. Okay, nice pincering in onto Maha, forcing that summoner out.
And for right now, we have a little bit of harass maybe attempted by Wolf. Definitely would have been actually very good to deny the recalls.
He actually did get the deny on Maha, so not going to be able to head back. Now Faker heading down to the bottom half of the map. He is level 6, so he will be able to reposition with his ultimate. Now, will be spotted out by a ward and beyond, secluded in that tri-brush, sees what's happening, will back off as well. Maha still kind of imprisoned down here, not allowed to leave this bottom turret. He may be forced to pay here as here comes Faker, positioning as far forward as possible. Will get the lockdown there on Maha, but with MVP piling in after him, I think it's actually a pretty good spot for them to be in. Teleport completed there by Ed, Ian though with the roam down bottom, and SKT forced to blow all their flashes to disengage. Now still looking for something as Wolf gets pinned against the wall. He will not flash to survive and winds up going down in the end.
Well, he can't flash there anyway. If he ends up flashing, he's going to die basically right where Ian is right now, except on the other side of the wall. There's no way out for him at that point. He doesn't have level 6. It's not like he can flash the wall and then try to take a voyage away. So conserving his flash is definitely going to be a lot better because it'll help with ganks and surviving ganks later on. And taking a look at this replay, you can see that they weren't expecting Beyond to be here probably, but his star sense tingling as he felt like Faker might have been coming back. And so because of that, they're rewarded with getting a kill onto Wolf and getting a lot of summoner spells out of SK Telecom. And this is a very big turnaround that MVP wanted to have. And very good counter game.
And good explanation about the saving the flash. You got to kind of play the percentages, say, well, not worth it. I'm going to die here anyway. Wolf making the hard decision and taking one for the team kind of there in the end. And earlier, I guess Beyond had kind of seen Faker down there thinking about heading back, and right place, right time, great positioning by the MVP jungler, who has been instrumental in their advantages so far. Now, up the top lane, here comes Bengi to try to get Prophet back into a good spot. Now, he is going to be able to subjugate Ed, and here comes Bengi around the corner. A little bit too early there on the cocoon, and will not be able to go in for the dive.
Ed able to survive that gank at not much of a loss, and with Beyond coming up here and showing himself, that gives SK Telecom in the bottom lane the go-ahead, actually.
Curtain call bottom lane channeled out here. We'll see if they can find anything. Maha down to below half after taking that big crit at the end.
Voidling's hitting Faker, but he's actually going to get some gold out of them, which is very fortunate for him. And now, I mean, with both junglers having been exposed, this is actually really problematic for the bottom lane of MVP, because Bang and Wolf are in the driver's seat, and they're hurting Maha and Max really badly, as you can see. Almost, well, there's a 21 CS gold lead, or 21 CS lead for SK Telecom.
Starting to get a little bit rough there, but as we do see the lanes continue, you know, we haven't broken lane phase. It's 9 minutes in. Both junglers still out there impacting the map. Here comes Bengi once again. This time, bottom lane around the corner. Don't believe he's been spotted out just yet, so he'll get into a great angle there. Flash Cocoon in there on Maha. Wolf tasting that kill away for himself. And that's the first kill on the board for SK Telecom.
Yep. And that's going to be very unfortunate for them, as that results in the Inferno Drake being captured by SK Telecom. And this is really big for them because of the Jhin and the Rise. And so them dying to this is very bizarre, because you can see that they probably could have an inclination that this is coming, because Bengi can't be anywhere else on the map. You know that he's not going to be top lane. You know he's not going to be mid lane. And so the fact that Maha and Max aren't playing defensively, assuming that he might be bot, is very strange.
Engaged there by Faker. Max forced to flash underneath the turret. Stranglethorns will not knock anyone up, and that's actually going to be Max's survival. Faker going back under turret to try to find the kill, but he just can't. And a big engage there by SK Telecom doesn't wind up paying off.
Yep. Right now, Wolf actually managed to steal away that Scuttle Crab, using the Devour to take it away.
Whoa, top lane, Ed Boy in a little bit of trouble, survives just barely. Very similar to the situation on the bottom half of the map, with MVP just able to get out alive. So SK Telecom piling on the pressure, not finding anything off of it, or any kills off of it, but able to put themselves in good spots in the lane.
Yep. And as we move forward right now, Ed gonna go back up to top lane, and conserving his teleport because there could be some sparks to fly in bottom lane in a few moments here. Malzahar has his ultimate. Faker in mid lane just has his flash up. And so right now we're going to take a little bit of a breather probably. And, you know, sometimes when I say that, some chaos ends up breaking loose. And bottom lane is a little bit vulnerable right now, given that Max doesn't have his flash and doesn't have his exhaust. So we might see Tom Kench actually ulti Bengi into the back line of MVP here in this bottom lane.
Not scouted out. They are on a pink ward. No one in lane, though, so not really anything to force them to pull the trigger or to trigger them to pull the trigger, as it were. Either way, the breather you were mentioning earlier, we can all adjust our chi a little bit and keep an eye on the map. At this point, I mean, we're 10 minutes in, 11:20 now, and who's really at the advantage? I mean, the advantage. There's that Inferno Drake that SKT has taken. Has that really kicked in to really give them a big lead?
Well, the Inferno Drake, depending on how Bengi elects to build, is going to play a very big part for them because Jhin and Ryze are known to get enormous amounts of AP and obviously AD. And so Bang is going to benefit from that.
Still don't know that Beyond is down there. And instead, we're going to focus on the mid lane as Ian does escape just barely away from Faker, who's going to rush just as far as he can to try to grab Ian and Beyond, neither one of them falling prey to it. And, really surprising that SK Telecom are being stymied at so many different gank opportunities.
Beyond just walking around to clear vision right now, and not much can really happen, but oh, okay, Prophet gonna cast his ultimate, go back up to full. Or near full anyway, after he eats this wave. Trundle's passive coming into play right here, and Ed being under as much pressure as he is not very good. You saw Ping actually go down on the top tier 1 outer turret, and First Blood Tower is still up for both teams, and SK Telecom, I mean, in both games, in game number 1 and game number 2, one of the big problems that MVP was facing is that they were all losing in CS scores.
Oh, Ed going right back, face checking there into Prophet. He's going to get bounced back towards him. Buckler for the trade, and Prophet keeping this top lane aggressive. Ed really forced to kind of back up what he had mentioned in that interview about this matchup being pretty skill-based, even though now that Quicksilver Sash does not help Poppy out as it used to versus Trundle to remove the ult, Prophet still having a little bit of a rough spot after giving up that initial kill.
Yep. And right now they're both going to recall, and so touching on the CS deficits again in every single lane right now, that's just a testament to SK Telecom are mechanically outplaying their opponents basically at every point, and that also applies pressure because last game SK Telecom went up 3 towers to 1 over MVP, and it's looking like that same problem is going to happen again in this game for MVP. And
all right,
Telecom.
We're going to see the 2v2 top lane. There's Bengi coming in, but he finds himself in now a 1v2. As Prophet can't really get there to help him out. There's the repel to try to escape there. Bang in the bottom lane, and there's actually going on there as well. We're going to watch the untimely demise of Bengi as MVP finds a kill back their way, but Max, hopefully, we'll get a replay of exactly how that happened. Being able to equalize.
Yeah, a 2v2 solo kill is not something that you want to happen. And we're seeing it on the bottom right-hand screen right now as the tower is being raised on the main, and you can see the curtain call coming out. Whoa! Oh my god. Absolutely beautiful tongue lash right there, and I think that MVP was not expecting that damage to come out from Bang, as Maha had heal up.
Yeah, a little bit uncharacteristic there, and especially not able to just like walk side to side, maybe try to do a little bit of better job dodging those. Bottom out of the map, Faker able to steal away a blue buff along with Wolf for the assistance, and now looking for Scuttle Crab there as well. So yeah, uncharacteristic death there. No summoned heal used to maybe save Max from dying there. What do you think really about the trade overall? A kill apiece for both teams. Who got the better of those?
Well, any sort of kills that are going to happen.
Oh, okay. Ian, that's not where you want to head into. Immediately killed off from face checking the wrong bush.
Yeah, and they got Max's flash out of him, so that's not going to be good for MVP. So, I mean, everything going right for SK Telecom right now, and everything's basically going wrong for MVP. Yes, they did get a kill up on Poppy, but that's not going to matter when Jhin and Ryze start getting kills on them, because the Inferno Drake is just going to continue to scale, and we have another Dragon coming up in 15 seconds here. SK Telecom are going to be in the driver's seat to manage to get this.
Turret will go down. You mentioned first turret still being there. Looks like SKT heard you, and they will take it out. That's not going to be great news for MVP, who still find themselves at a gold deficit afterwards. We're going to watch once again as Ian races into the wrong bush.
Yeah, Ian was going into the wrong bush, did not know that Faker and Bengi were waiting, and Max having to be forced to flash away right there, and this is all pretty bad. Now, Ian didn't lose any summoner spells, but Max losing his flash is definitely going to make him very susceptible later on, especially to any sort of a curtain call from Bang and Wolf. And the 2v2 kill is a very real threat right now beyond, is it blue buff right now? But his route is going to need to go to the left-hand side of the map if he wants to provide any assistance to Ed up in the top lane, because Ed doesn't have teleport. And with the Inferno Drake being up, Ed needs to come down to bottom.
Keeping an eye on it. Ed definitely needed down here, like you mentioned. The Inferno Drake started out, and this would be Inferno Drake number 2 to an SK Telecom team that can definitely scale insanely well off of it. No assistance there, and the Ed that was required got his hands full top lane with Prophet, who even after being punished for going over aggressive previously, not afraid to go right back on it, and here comes Faker to help him out. Now trying for the poppy counter on the rise. Faker able to dodge it with an immediate flash, and not the counter Ed needed that time. It's Faker to come up with his first kill of the game.
Yeah, and now that's going to probably be top tier 1 turret falling, and this is really problematic as Prophet is just super far ahead. And you can see that interaction right there actually a little bit weird. You would think that Ed's ultimate would have been canceled, but nonetheless, SK Telecom able to pick up this kill, and they'll be rewarded with the top 1 tier 1 outer turret. And now in bottom lane, remember, Max doesn't have flash, so this can get very dangerous.
We'll see. Maha taking an absolutely brutal amount of damage back his way. Will force the flash away as he loses all of his health. No plans to find the kill there onto Wolf, and here comes the curtain call. Trying to trade this damage out. The last hit there will be shot, but it won't kill off anyone from MVP. Oh my god, the deadly flourish. Almost deadly enough to pick off Max, and even that last little bit of damage from the Deathfire touch, not enough in the end.
Yeah. So they will be forced to back off right there, and I wouldn't be surprised actually if Faker picks up that Scuttle Crab, goes back and shoves in mid lane while SKT kill the bottom turret. And I mean, this is a 3-0 turret lead, double Inferno Drake for a Jhin and Ryze team composition, and Bengi still has the choice to actually just go Glass Cannon Elise. And I mean, honestly, at this point, it might not be that bad of an idea. We can see Prophet going for the Titanic Hydra, probably into full tank to just further enable his carries. No need to really go Ravenous Hydra with this lead that SK Telecom has right now, because Ryze and Jhin are going to do all the damage anyway.
Yeah, absolutely incredible damage now with 2 Inferno Drakes. So much to look forward to here for the SK Telecom lineup, who find themselves 1 game away from heading to Busan. There's 100 million won on the line, LS. It's about $90,000, and SKT, fresh off of winning a couple million USD, find themselves poised to make 1 step further, winning yet more. Now Faker gonna get the 19-minute luxury buff here at the Rift Herald that will persist for quite a while, as it has taken pretty much to the last moment.
Yeah, so this buff is basically going to last for the entire game, and a 19-minute Rift Herald buff on Trundle is very, very problematic, and it's already been a problematic matchup for Ed so far, at least, up here in the top lane. And I mean, at this point, MVP are just posturing and they don't really know what to do. Malzahar only has his first core item completed for Maha, and it's actually a Yumu's Ghostblade. Not something I would have expected to see.
Right, now we've actually seen that earlier on in this tournament. Day 1, we saw the Yomu's Ashe, and what was so interesting about that is because not only is it, less traditional for Ashes to buy, but also when it comes to the math, I'm not exactly sure that works out either. I think the higher damage route to go ideally would be the crit build, but with some of the reworks to the way that crit and slows work on Ashe, maybe that's the reasoning behind it. Either way, MVP up towards the top half of the map, and we'll have to see whether or not this rotation is strong enough for MVP. What's their way back into the game now that things have started to really maybe get out of control for SK Telecom?
Their only way back in at this point is going to be sort of like the mistakes that they themselves were making last game, except SKT has to make them.
Well, here comes the curtain call, just trying to find something. Nothing really vulnerable in the range of it, and so Bang will cancel to get some cooldown. Now here comes a big Ash area, will catch out Wolf. He will not get silenced there as Ian misses it. Now MVP gonna stand on top of that Stranglethrower where it's not necessarily a great spot, but they'll find a kill onto Wolf. Now chasing off onto Prophet, who exits towards the top half of the map, and 4v5 the situation now. Ed low, but does have teleport available for when he comes back from base.
Yeah, and so that's going to be MVP's way back into the game. They need to find picks on isolated targets or find a way to isolate the target in itself by threatening more damage maybe due to a positional error from SK Telecom. And they need to do this over and over and over, and they really need to scale up to that point where Poppy and Malzahar both have 3 or 4 items.
Sieging here on the mid lane turret. There's a flash to knock up onto Bang. He's going to drop down as it's Bang for Maha to take him out. Bengi now taking a decent amount of damage, but Ian has to stay safe there as well. Maha almost dying there at the end, but it's Bengi to come in and get the execute. The execution line on the back line from SKT comes through for 2 more kills, and now MVP, the ones finding themselves being routed. Nice dash over the wall there from Ed to get himself safely away. In the end, it's a 2-for-1 in favor of SK Telecom after what started out looking so good for MVP.
Yeah, it was looking really good for MVP indeed, but SKT are too far ahead right now, and even without one of their members, Bang, they're still able to dish out so much damage, and right now Prophet is so tanky as well, and I mean, that whole fight came at a very big cost of a lot of summoner spells for MVP, and that's definitely going to diminish their ability to get picks later on. So in this replay, you can see that Beyond, he was able to get the kill onto Bang, and at this point, Faker not able to find the kill onto Maha, partly due to that exhaust that came out. You saw Ian micromanaging his champion to sort of stutter step in front of Maha to try to absorb any spells being thrown by Faker his way, but it was all in vain as Bengi and Prophet able to find the kills on them both in the end. Wolf with a little bit of indecisiveness, actually. You saw him pulling Faker back slightly, but then returning him to the front of the fight.
And here we go right into another one. It's curtain call. This time we'll slow the exit from MVP. Bengi getting forward the Proto Belt. Damage on to Beyond, down to half health. Now, SK Telecom exiting the Dragon, but not before taking it down for their 3rd Dragon of the game, this time an Ocean Drake.
And so we see that Bengi is actually electing into the Glass Cannon Elise. So they will be using Trundle for all of their tanky needs. And Elise and Rise and Jin are all super scary damage threats.
Where's Ed headed? He's got Faker on the back of him and Wolf right in front. Ed picks up a buckler and stays in there. Maha gets sniped in the meantime. MVP losing 1, now looking poised to lose the 2nd. He'll pass through the gate into the base and stay just barely alive. But Maha getting picked there will make this defense very difficult for MVP.
Yep, and that was another careless death by Maha. He had heal up. You know that the summoner or the spell was gonna hit from Bang, and yet he didn't cast it. Beyond. A little scary situation right there. And right now, SK Telecom are looking poised to capture Baron. Every single lane for MVP is pretty disadvantageous, and it's not even like SK Telecom don't actually have turret penetrating abilities via the curtain call.
Certainly do, and now with the revive, Maha might be looking for an arrow thrown from base. Maybe find those picks that you mentioned earlier. MVP desperately need to try to find some footholds. They fall further and further behind in gold. We're gonna watch this Maha execution. Too much damage. Oh, and just the tip.
Right there. I mean, this is just a super chaotic fight where MVP, they benefit from being grouped up and together. That way the Voidlings have more potency, and there's just chaos happening
Return back to life for another execution there by Bang. He's cashing in for his 3rd kill of the game, this time on the other MVP carry. This is what you said MVP needed to do to get back in the game, but SKT are doing it to get further ahead.
Yep. And at this point, I mean, you almost basically have to call the game because double Inferno Drake at 25 minutes with almost 10,000 gold lead, and SK Telecom looking way cleaner, and this is to watch. They're being very active, very proactive with their advantage, and the way that they're moving around the map is significantly better than their previous series.
Yeah, exactly, and we actually, okay, we're going to see this again. Ian actually has his passive broken immediately, and then it's curtain call to call him home. He gets taken out there. Now, you mentioned earlier, you referenced their previous series. That time around in their games versus KEG, they had a lot of momentum. They secured themselves a lot of advantages, and then just kind of walked around for 10 to 15 minutes. So this time, being very, very active across the map, like you said. So their actions currently, what's the next step here? Okay, well, finding more and more picks. That time, exhaust saving Max's life. Can the repel get Bengi out alive? He will be suppressed and taken out. Now there's the arrow follow-up onto Wolf. He will get knocked out, and that is not going to be his way out. He'll take the hard road back to home. Taken out, so it's a almost kill there onto Bengi. He narrowly survives, and so in the end, it's only one pick for MVP. But is that the kind of picks that they need? Well,
it is the type of picks that they need, but they're going to need to do that about 10 more times if they want to get back into this match. And right now, Void Staff just got picked up for Faker, so his ability to shred through Beyond and Ed just got significantly better. I mean, Dragon going to be coming up in probably around 2.5 minutes now, and that's likely to go over to SK Telecom as well. And you just have to wonder, when are they finally going to get back?
Oh, and here comes Faker getting out of dodge with a flash over the wall. Beyond getting a little bit slowed out there at the end of the curtain call. The knock up there onto Bengi. He might be the next one to fall, and he will.
Well, Bengi stepping too far forward, not having his flash. And as you can see now, Dragon going to be spawning in about 1 minute and 50 seconds. And MVP, they are finding picks, but the problem is they need to keep doing this over and over. And it's significantly easier to make the picks when Wolf is not around to devour his own teammate, to save them from the suppressions or the stuns or snares that MVP have a lot of.
They certainly do. MVP, off of those 2 picks, will be able to find themselves their first turret of the game there in the mid lane. Faker, in the meantime, top lane pushing that down. But, I mean, MVP at least kind of taking your advice and finding little tiny advantages, not allowing SKT to get away with too much.
Right now, MVP going back into a 1-3-1 type of style, and this is mostly enabled due to the fact that Ryze, via his ultimate, able to join his team at a moment's call, and Prophet looking like he'll probably actually get this turret. Iceborne Gauntlet procs, plus the Rift Herald, able to assist him in raising that structure pretty quickly. Beyond not going to get here in time, and I mean, the next step here is to have Prophet stay in bottom lane, and then basically bait out a Baron, because it's very unlikely that MVP is going to be able to win any sort of a 4v4 fight without Ed present.
Well, there's Ed and Prophet content to be the immortal combatants locked in an eternal struggle down there. We'll see who comes out on top as we do finally get a chance to watch that. It is the Prophet show. As he is taking it to Ed, who's forced back underneath his base turret. MVP doing a decent job trying to survive and defend their upper turret as SK Telecom content to walk back between that mid lane and top.
All right, well, Ed actually gets solo killed.
Okay, surprise.
Maybe he will think twice about saying that no top laner is good against Poppy.
Well,
Prophet Strundle has been phenomenal against him in this series.
He did say it depended on the player, and as SK Telecom go towards Baron, we're about to get a replay of exactly how that happened. The subjugate and a flash to dodge the Poppy ult. Beautifully well played there, and it does depend on the player. Prophet, too good. Beyond now going for a Baron steal. Arrow coming forward. Beyond dropping way too low. Faker in the front line to take it down. He's going to get it blasted. There's the steal for MVP. They take it away. It's the score move to keep them in it, but in the end, Faker's still trying to find more and more picks. They take out Maha. Ed dead from previously, but a Baron buff on the rest of MVP.
And the whole way that this actually just happened is Bengi didn't have his smite up while they were doing that. So when Baron was at 1400 HP, it becomes a very real threat for Beyond to be able to get in there and win that contention of Baron at that point. That's a really unfortunate loss for SK Telecom. Now, Dragon is up. They are going to get it. Unfortunately for them, it is a Cloud Drake where the map is already busted completely wide open. So not going to be the biggest pickup. They definitely want to get that down as fast as possible to start the cooldown for Elder Dragon to spawn. That will be the next dragon on the map. But a little bit of a breather now for MVP. So you can see that the snare goes up, and there was 2,000 hit points on the Baron. Had they all just actually focused on killing it, you can see Bang was really hesitating, and the rest of the members of SK Telecom, and MVP really captured that opportunity and managed to get the Baron for themselves.
Yeah, they definitely did not let that one go. Only a 2 minutes window of time here for MVP to really establish some sort of advantage, or really just use this Baron to hold on for what will be 2 minutes that they might not have been able to had it not been for Beyond's heroic maneuver. Somewhere out there, Score senses a disturbance in the forest. He's like, I know what that feels like. Beyond definitely helping MVP stay in this, but even in the face of this Baron buff, does SKT still have what they need to push in?
Well, SK Telecom can definitely find their way in, but it's going to be a little bit difficult against the Baron enhanced minions. You can see Prophet can't even really actually kill the minions when they are buffed up by that Baron. And right now, I mean, they're just going to probably wait for the Baron buff duration to end. Ed coming up here to try to kill Prophet. They might actually find the kill onto him. Iceborne for some additional slows. There comes the Subjugate. Prophet is a monster, and it does not look like MVP have what it takes to take him down. With that committal up towards the top half of the map, it opens up mid lane for SK Telecom, who will crack that inhibitor. As my voice cracks, along with the base turret and the inhibitor. That's going to be the first one going down for SK Telecom. And SKT... I mean, MVP trying to find the flank in here. The knockback will at least save one of them, trying to follow forward. And I actually thought more was going to happen there, so apologies for interrupting. SKT turn it back around. SKT do turn it back around, indeed. And they do have that Water Dragon, so they will get a little bit of hit points and mana back as they move over to continue their siege on the bottom tier 3 turret. And this is basically all that they need to do right now, as Prophet is knocking on that door up in top lane. We all know how that lane goes, or at least how it went previously. Prophet does not have a splash up to avoid the Poppy all this time, but it's on cooldown, so he doesn't have to worry about it now. Watching out for the flank as MVP try to come in and find anything, any opportunity to catch SK Telecom out. Yeah, and this is actually MVP's opportunity to try to make something happen, because SK Telecom is pooling a lot of gold on all of their members. So even though they have 11,000 gold advantage, if all of their members are pooling 2k gold apiece, that's not actually really applicable to the current battle that might be at hand. Now, the gold amount on them all is probably not going to be that high, but it's still noticeable that the advantage in gold is a little bit deceptive, although their stats are bolstered by that double Inferno Drake, and it does make it a little bit difficult for MVP to really take them on in a head-on engagement, but that was their opportunity, and they lost out on it. So we find ourselves at 33 minutes in. The first inhibitor of the game has gone down. How much does that change the landscape here as MVP try to not just survive, but maybe ultimately come out with a win? Well, MVP have almost reached that 3-item spike on Ed and Ian, so Malzahar definitely going to be dealing a lot more damage now as this game moves on. Guardian Angel up, though, on Prophet and Bengi, and that basically foretells that they are finally looking for a team fight, and they want to make a fight happen, as the Guardian Angel is extremely obnoxious against MVP's team comp. Red buff being contested here will reset, but no, the crit's too big. And bang, will take that one away. A minus 4,000 gold Baron anti-power play from MVP, who do hang on, but still take more and more deficits. Yep. So now SK Telecom struggling to find a way into their base, and this is actually an issue that we saw against KEG in their series last week, where even with a very large gold advantage, they couldn't find a way to really drive it home. Hesitation definitely makes them more and more vulnerable for more hero plays to catch them out. Instead, they will be the ones to catch Beyond and send him back to base with about a quarter HP. Pressing forward, and not one, but 3 lanes here as SK Telecom look to collapse here on this upper turret. Maha and Max and Ian up to try to defend, but they will not be successful. Arrow thrown out there. It will miss Bang just barely. He does cancel his ultimate as now Beyond Beset will be forced to back off to the Nexus turrets. Ian a little bit caught out there as the inhibitors start to fall.
Prophet crushing the bottom one right now as we speak, getting in onto it. Instead, he opts to rejoin SK Telecom, who push in onto the Nexus. Little bit by little bit, Faker taking pot shots at the one Nexus turret. This will be the fight for MVP to try to hang on. Beyond takes the brunt of the damage there. Stranglethorns won't find any knockups there. Prophet jumps forward for a kill onto Beyond, and it's going to be Bengi, the first one to drop Guardian Angel to revive him. SK Telecom will need to defend their spidery jungler. He'll stay alive for now. Bango will drop, and it's actually going to maybe reset those malefic visions onto Bengi. No, he survives there, and Faker with a turnaround kill for a double, taking out Maha and making this defense for Ian at the Nexus a little more difficult.
Yeah, and Prophet at full HP. Right now, Faker trying to get the kill onto Ed. This is a super extended fight.
This is actually the longest fight. That's why I kind of turned it back over to LS for the color play-by-play. This is the fight that never ends, and finally it looks like we will get a breather. SK Telecom unable to finish the game, so stalwart defense there. We're about to see exactly how that happened.
Yeah, so basically the fight started off with Ed botching his ultimate, and fortunately for MVP, they were able to find a kill onto Wolf, but it came at the cost of Beyond's life due to Prophet using that flash to get on top of him. Bengi went down, but their damage output isn't really that high right now, and you can see that Maha not able to find that final kill onto Bengi, and also we didn't get to catch a glimpse of it, but Max mistimed his exhaust onto Faker, and that actually resulted in his own death. And SK Telecom able to get the 3 inhibitors down, thus enabling the 7 versus 5, which is basically because 2 super minions now coming out of every single lane generally requires 2 members of the team to defend against that just at the Nexus turrets.
The little raptor that could, running back away there as MVP try to push out of their base and get into a position for this bear. And now Elder Dragon going to be empowering SK Telecom. Like I said, they just did take that out. And thanks to having 4 dragons previous, that's actually going to last for a little bit of a while. Now, Baron started up here. MVP, this is yet another forced opportunity for them to have a chance at getting back into it, but not this time, says Bengi, and he will secure Baron buff this time for SK Telecom.
This will probably be the final endgame push. The inhibitor in mid lane has respawned, but that is going to fall in probably about 10 seconds here as SK Telecom march up mid, and via the curtain call, yep, there it is.
They do break the passive onto Ian. He's back to the Nexus turrets, fully channeled out there. A big crit finds the penetration into the back line to hit Ian and force him back to the fountain. Ed channeling his ultimate, lets it go to knock all of those super minions back away from these turrets. Keeping the pressure on as SKT slowly and steadily push in onto the turrets. One will fall as Faker takes it out. Pressure onto the second one. MVP have to make it, find an opportunity, and they will head to the back line, but it's Beyond who actually winds up dropping first. Faker actually ulting forward to try to get the position to catch more of MVP out. They're onto the fountain, and that is where they will stay. 4 dead, and maybe even Maha next to fall on the fountain. SK Telecom may look for another one, and they will dive the fountain to try to find the last hit. It's going to be a full 5-man ace as SK Telecom take a 2-0 victory over MVP.
Yeah, and that was a very